A very hungry man willing to save the world. Night, like melted ink, permeates every inch of space, mysterious and profound. Hunger, like a gluttonous beast from the wild, woke Feng Zimo from a deep sleep. The hungry intestines let out thunderous protests, mixed with painful twitches to vent their dissatisfaction. The empty stomach was overflowing with acid, as if countless sharp claws were clawing randomly. Even every cell in the body was like an eagle that had not eaten for 3 days and was waiting for food, regardless of the hysteria. It's the fear of hunger, the desire for food. Feng Zimo wiped the cold sweat from his head and struggled to sit up. If there was light, he would definitely find that his thin face was frighteningly pale at this time, even tinged with blue. This is the third day in a row that I've been woken up from a dream. Could it be that the scene 3 days ago was not a prank? Feng Zimo looked haggard and confused. 3 days ago, Feng Zimo, a junior majoring in computer science at Ruiz Hong Agricultural University, was browsing various weird web pages on the world-famous dark web with half-baked skills when a pop-up window suddenly appeared in the middle of the screen. There are a few bright characters on it. Are you willing to save the world? Below are two options, one willing and one unwilling. At first glance, the willing option is much more eye-catching than the unwilling option, regardless of the box or color. There was even a blurry halo, tempting Feng Zimo to click on it. However, Feng Zimo, who was used to seeing all kinds of unscrupulous marketing advertisements, didn't take it seriously and just thought it was pushed by a rogue plugin in his computer. However, even as Feng Zimo slid the mouse back and forth, he discovered that the pop-up window did not have the X-shaped closing mark that it should have. So, Feng Zimo clicked without hesitation, unwilling. However, contrary to expectations, the pop-up window that disappeared as expected did not disappear, but a new pop-up window popped up. It read, "Are you really unwilling to save the world, even if it is about to be destroyed?" There are still two options below, willing and unwilling. Feng Zimo, who was tired of this routine, once again chose unwilling neatly. The pop-ups are like dogskin plaster. It still didn't disappear. Instead, a new pop-up window popped up like it was infected by a virus. It read, "Are you sure you don't want to save the world, even if it will give you unparalleled wealth, an honor that will go down in history, and a beautiful woman who will throw you into your arms?" I believed you. How could you be so shameless? Feng Zimo, who had been single for 3 years, seemed to have been hit by a smile, but there was a hint of astringency in his smile. However, for the sake of the beautiful woman, the amused Feng Zimo still chose yes, with the intention of reciprocating the favor. The three speechless pop-up windows disappeared. But before Feng Zimo could calm down, a new pop-up window popped up. Is this over yet? Feng Zimo angrily wanted to completely disinfect the computer. Fortunately, the latest pop-up window finally has no options. It says, "Receive a future technology gift package." There is only one confirmation item below. Okay. At this point, Feng Zimo could only hold his nose, move the mouse, and select OK. I saw the computer screen flash suddenly, and then burst out with bright and gorgeous colorful lights, like a new singularity explosion, directly reflected into Feng Zimo's not very deep, but very bright eyes. Vaguely, Feng Zimo also heard a voice. "The database is in place. The energy is short. Please replenish it in time." However, when Feng Zimo came back to his senses, the wind was blowing gently, his roommate was sleeping soundly. Everything was so peaceful. Feng Zimo, who was a little dizzy, closed his eyes and shook his head vigorously, as if he wanted to recall what happened just now. A prank, or something else? But all in vain. Not only is the mind empty, even the previous pop-up window disappeared without a trace. No matter how Feng Zimo repeated the previous operation, the computer would just pop up strange dark web pages one after another step by step, but the Save the World pop-up window was nowhere to be seen. Feng Zimo, who was very confused, had no choice but to use his scumbag spirit of not asking for a complete explanation, plucked his hair, scratched a scalp, and returned his attention to the miscellaneous dark web pages. The previous confusion was forgotten and forgotten. However, Feng Zimo thought that he could just click on a marketing advertisement, and if he clicked on it, he would pass. However, an inexplicable feeling of hunger caught up with me at some point. It is like a gangrene attached to the bones, irritating the sense of existence all the time. That night, Feng Zimo became even more miserable. Feng Zimo woke up from his dream and felt that all the cells in his body were roaring, and he had the potential to rebel if he didn't eat. However, in the middle of the night, there was no electricity in the dormitory, so Feng Zimo ate all the snacks he had hoarded by the light of his mobile phone. However, snacks are just snacks after all. They are just a way to pass the time and satisfy your cravings, but they do not fill you up. Therefore, Feng Zimo, whose eyes were green from hunger, swept through all the inventory of his roommate Chen Lanqing, and finally found the 2 packages of Nanjiken instant noodles that Zhang Limu had packed at the bottom of the box, chewed them up, drank a lot of hot water, and then went to bed in a daze. The next day, it was getting dark, and Feng Zimo was woken up. Of course, what woke Feng Zimo up was not a dream, nor the urge to urinate, but hunger, the hungry stomach, and the cells that were crying for food. Feng Zimo didn't even bother to wash his face, brush his teeth, and go to the toilet. He threw on his clothes randomly, grabbed his cell phone, and ran out of the dormitory. Fortunately, at this time, the small shop selling breakfast in the school has opened. After eating 8 large meat buns in one breath, Feng Zimo's restless stomach and intestines finally calmed down. Under the shocked eyes of others, Feng Zimo packed up 20 steamed buns, flour rolls, and meat buns and returned to the dormitory with a dark expression. In the next 2 days, Feng Zimo felt like he was possessed by a hungry wolf, and the feeling of hunger followed him everywhere. He had just eaten, but when he turned around, his chest was pressed to his back with hunger, and his mouth could not be idle for a moment. Feng Zimo usually serves 2 ounces of rice for lunch and dinner. As for why he doesn't just serve 4 ounces, that's because in the magical place of the school cafeteria, 2 plus 2 does not equal 4, but is greater than 4. However, 2 liang is far from enough now. After 2 bowls of rice, I feel that I have just started to appetize. You must know that their school cafeteria is quite kind and provides sufficient portions and food. Generally speaking, girls only eat 1 tael, and not many eat 2 taels, while most boys eat 3 taels. Although this may be the reason why the food in the cafeteria is unpalatable, it still explains some weight issues. Recently, Feng Zimo even tried to eat 3 or 4 taels in one meal before feeling as if he was 80% full. What made Feng Zimo even more depressed was that his stomach felt like a bottomless pit, and all the food he had eaten seemed to be in vain. It didn't take long for him to feel hungry again. It's okay during the day, and I can replenish energy at any time, but it's not easy to stay up at night. Ordinary snacks are not enough to resist hunger. When he gets hungry, Feng Zimo wants to go to the corner of the table and take a bite of wood shavings, which makes Feng Zimo frantically run to the supermarket and buy a bunch of bagged compressed food. In the past 2 days, Feng Zimo ate a quarter of a bag of compressed food before going to bed, and drank a large glass of water before going to bed. It's not that Feng Zimo is full after eating a quarter of the bag, but he doesn't dare to eat more. Because Feng Zimo only knew how to drink water after eating compressed food. Compressed food will swell, but he doesn't know how much it will swell. He is afraid that if he eats too much and drinks water, his stomach will rupture, so he only dares to eat a quarter at a time. Although it does not completely solve the root cause of the problem, it still greatly alleviates the problem of being hungry at night. It's just that he didn't do anything that consumed a lot of energy in the past few days, but he suddenly became very good at eating. Generally speaking, such a big change in his body is not a good sign, and Feng Zimo panicked. Feng Zimo first went to the school hospital, but unfortunately, the standard of the school hospital was not enough to solve this weird problem. Feng Zimo, who had doubts, remembered a rumor. It is said that many doctors and nurses in the school hospital are alumni, but the school clearly does not have a medical school, only a school of animal medicine. Therefore, Feng Zimo decided to go to the city and find a reliable large hospital. One inspection cost several hundred. I don't know if there are any health problems, but Feng Zimo is sure that his heart hurts. Although money was spent, the final test results were not that fast and had to wait for several days. In the past few days, while waiting for the notification, Feng Zimo had trouble sleeping and eating. He always felt that there seemed to be some unexplainable changes in his body, and the increase in appetite was only one aspect. On the other hand, some inexplicable things pop up in my mind from time to time. This kind of thing is not a concrete picture or memory, but a variety of obscure and strange thoughts. For example, when you are in class, when you hear a knowledge point, your mind will inexplicably conjure up a bunch of related theories that are both plausible and inconsistent, the depth of which is far beyond this knowledge point. But when Feng Zimo wanted to think carefully, these theories that suddenly appeared disappeared in an instant and disappeared, as if they just passed by in a flash, leaving behind only a vague idea. Distraught, Feng Zimo began to use online self-diagnosis therapy, trying to search for similar cases on the internet, but found that the top ones were either advertisements or simply scammers. Search and search. Feng Zimo found that the only thing that could reach the top was the metaphysics, such as reincarnation. People with noses and eyes told many stories about enlightenment and wisdom. Could it be that my brother is still reincarnated by some powerful person? Feng Zimo couldn't help but make random guesses. But stories are stories after all, and most of them are rumors, with no truly convincing examples. As a science student at a first-class university in the new century, Feng Zimo is a scumbag, but he also has a firm atheistic materialism. He can listen to religion, reincarnation, ghosts, and gods, but never believe in them. When the day finally came to go to the hospital to get the results, Feng Zimo left with an uneasy mood. When he left the hospital, he dropped his head and left disappointed. It's not that there is anything wrong with the test, but on the contrary, the doctor concluded that it may be due to the rapid growth of the body during the adolescent growth period, so it consumes more energy. It is recommended to increase the amount of exercise appropriately, eat more and smaller meals, and ensure a balanced nutrition. Feng Zimo really wanted to say, "Bullshit." During the physical examination for admission to Columbia University, my height without boots measured me at 1.76 meters and my weight at 63 kilograms. Now, at the end of the second semester of my junior year, I just finished the physical education exam and my height measured at 1.77 meters and my weight at 64 kilograms. I have grown 1 centimeter and 2 kilograms of flesh in 3 years. Can this be said to be in the growth stage of a long body? After leaving the hospital angrily, Feng Zimo looked back bitterly and spat hard. Chapter 002 A Knife on the Head of the Word Sex. Just after leaving the hospital, Feng Zimo found a cafeteria and decided to drown his sorrow and anger in the food. Hu Chihai drank for 2 full hours before Feng Zimo patted his belly with satisfaction. Under the admiring eyes of the restaurant manager, Shi Shiran slowly walked out of the restaurant. In order to eat up, Feng Zimo then went to a nearby video game arcade to play happily until he was exhausted. It was already 10 o'clock in the evening. Seeing that it was getting late, Feng Zimo was about to cross the village in the city and walk to Qingyan Road on the opposite side to take a taxi back to school. But just when he was about to pass through the village and the city, Feng Zimo suddenly stopped. At the corner, he saw several gangsters with killer looks blocking a graceful girl. The leading gangster also held a shining dagger in his hand. What shocked Feng Zimo even more was that the gangster's hand holding the knife actually had gloves on. "What are you looking at? Get out of here." The gangster holding the dagger scolded fiercely. At this time, a sentence suddenly popped into Feng Zimo's mind. To be or not to be, that is a question. It shouldn't be that serious. Feng Zimo laughed a little and secretly joked. For now, at most it's stay or leave. That's the question. At this time, Feng Zimo had no idea that this would really be a life and death decision. Feng Zimo was still fighting between heaven and man, while the gangsters had completely ignored Feng Zimo, a passerby. Well, Wuiman, you're so brave. You don't even look at your target when you're playing fairy dance. You dare to touch Master Shin's goods. Now we're blocking it. What's going on? Give me an explanation. The leading gangster lowered his head and played with the dagger nonchalantly. Bu Yimin, who was cornered in a corner, said in a charming voice, Misunderstanding. This is all a misunderstanding. Brother Dao, please listen to my explanation. The package is not with me. Give me the courage to touch that thing. Bu Yimin, don't be shameless. Others give you face because of your good looks, plump butt and waist and plump figure. I covet to have sex with you, but I don't want to do this. The leading gangster was unexpectedly not lewd. By the way, Bu Yimin is really charming. Her face is as bright as Chuyue, but there is still a bit of coquettish charm in it. The flaming red lips added to her aura. A large burgundy wave just touched her surging chest. The chest was white and greasy, the ravine was bottomless, and the waist of the water snake could be grasped. Below was a pair of beautiful legs, slender, straight, fair, and with a tall figure of 8 heads, which was extremely vulgar. Hurry up and tell me where you hid that package of goods. Without the goods, we can't deliver the goods. If you can't deliver the goods, don't blame me for being ruthless. The young gangster, who sternly asked with a cold look in his eyes. Feng Zimo on the side was completely stunned. He originally thought about whether a hero would come to save the beauty, but the expected urban romance drama seemed to have turned into a black drama that had only been seen in movies. Why are you still here? Get out of here. A gangster who was helping nearby saw Feng Zimo staring at them blankly, so he cursed. Oh. Feng Zimo, who didn't know the situation, was still confused. Brother Dao, I really haven't seen that package, and I wouldn't dare to take it if I saw it. What if I hadn't exchanged it for money and ran away to enjoy my life? Brother Dao, I didn't take it, and I never saw it. Bu Yimin said delicately to push it away. Luzi, drive that stupid boy away. Brother Dao, who was a little impatient, ordered. You bastard, you're still here. Your grandfather's words are falling on deaf ears. The cursing little gangster walked toward Feng Zimo crookedly with crab steps. Feng Zimo suddenly became nervous. He had been living in the greenhouse garden since he was a child. He had never really fought with anyone, let alone this kind of street fight. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later. That's all we know. Error 500, server error. 1500, that's an error. There was an error. Please try again later. That's all we know. Take one more look， 冯子墨怕是会忍不住脑补出一些少儿不宜的画面。Feng Zimo, who was full of blood and energy, was very brave and planned to risk his blood. However, the 6 men who came up to him did not give Feng Zimo a chance and kicked Feng Zimo with his foot. Just when Feng Zimo was about to raise his foot to counterattack, Bu Yimin's crisp shout came to his ears. Brother, do it. Feng Zimo suddenly staggered. Well, now he is really going to be regarded as an accomplice. While distracted, Feng Zimo was immediately kicked by Liu Zi, and the next Ma Daha fell to the ground. It's not that Liu Zi is very energetic. It was entirely because of Feng Zimo's stagger that he lost his center of gravity. Just a little force from his kick knocked Feng Zimo over. And Bu Yimin was not unambiguous. He lifted up his vaginal leg with one blow and attacked Brother Dao's crotch ferociously. Brother Dao seemed to be paying attention to Feng Zimo, but he never relaxed his vigilance against Bu Yimin. Brother Dao snorted coldly, clamped his legs, and raised his knife to stab Bu Yimin fiercely. Feng Zimo, who was lying on the ground, saw that the leading gangster started to use the knife. He felt excited in his heart. He stood up with a shake and strode towards the weak gangster next to him. Although Yozi was thin, he lived on the streets after all. He had seen this kind of scene a lot, and he was not unambiguous at the moment. When he saw Feng Zimo running towards him, he not only did not flinch, but squatted down slightly, ready to go. However, the so-called situation is stronger than the people. Although Liuzi is experienced, Feng Zimo, who is not afraid of tigers as a newborn, just hugged Liuzi and hit the wall. Liuzi didn't notice and was caught by Feng Zimo. However, Liuzi didn't rush around. Instead, he made a fist and punched Feng Zimo in the ribs. Feng Zimo groaned when his ribs were hit, but he pushed Lu Zi's head hard against the wall, and Lu Zi was immediately deflated. Feng Zimo, whose eyes were red, was so powerful that he held Lu Zi's head and banged it against the wall. As a result, Lu Zi, who was already thin, simply slumped to the ground. On the other side of the battlefield, Bu Yimin was surprisingly still struggling to maintain his position, but he was obviously at a disadvantage. His clothes were messy and his arms were bulging left and right. It turned out that Bu Yimin's figure was surprisingly soft. Just when Brother Dao clamped his legs and was about to stab Bu Yimin's shoulder, he actually had time to use an iron bridge. He bent his back and just escaped Brother Dao's thrust. At the same time, the outstretched leg turned into a stab. The heel of the high-heeled shoe stabbed Brother Dao's crotch, causing Brother Dao to scream and retreat. Bu Yimin turned over backwards and stood up in a graceful and smooth motion, just like the turning movement in gymnastics. It was not too beautiful. The other two gangsters next to him only reacted at this time and joined in the siege of Bu Yimin. However, these two gangsters were obviously average in skill, while the main force, Brother Dao, suffered a heavy blow to his vital parts and had difficulty moving. However, Bu Yimin seemed to be agile, but in fact he was just a bit slick. Although he was not knocked down for a while, he was hit many times in the group fight, which was not good. Feng Zimo knocked down a gangster and rushed towards the main battlefield. Fortunately, although his blood was rising, he was not dizzy yet. Among the three gangsters surrounding Bu Yimin, there happened to be another gangster whose back was facing him. So Feng Zimo took a running start and then kicked him in the air. "Huh!" Feng Zimo shouted in the air, hitting the little gangster in the back with his big foot. The little gangster's body was kicked upwards and collided with a gangster on the opposite side. Brother Dao, because of his inconvenience in movement, avoided the impact in a slightly outer area. Now another little gangster has lost his fighting power. If you kill another one, you can fight two against one. The little gangster is nothing more than that. Feng Zimo's confidence increased greatly after he kicked the little gangster away. Not only did he have no fear, he even felt a little jealous in his heart. "Boy, be careful. Get out of the way," Bu Yimin suddenly shouted. "Huh!" Feng Zimo, who had just landed and was still reminiscing about the feeling of being kicked in the air, was stunned for a moment, then turned to look at Brother Dao, who was holding the dagger. This sight was really heartbreaking. The dagger in Brother Dao's hand was less than 30 centimeters away from his head, and it was still attacking quickly. Brother Dao was already very angry, and he finally blocked the woman who was cheating the boss like a pie in the sky. Just when he was about to catch her, a stupid boy suddenly appeared and intervened. The victim received a heavy blow and almost capsized in the ditch. He was about to capture this woman, but he didn't expect another flying kick from this stupid boy. Brother Dao couldn't help but be filled with anger. He endured the severe pain in his lower abdomen and rushed forward to teach Feng Zimo a painful lesson. This knife came out with anger, fierce and sharp. However, this knife was not originally aimed at Feng Zimo's head. After all, it was a life-threatening incident, and Brother Dao did not dare to be so cruel. But luckily, he took too big a step and tore his egg. Under the severe pain, Brother Dao twitched, his arms shook, and the dagger suddenly deviated from the direction and went straight to Feng Zimo's head. Looking at the oncoming sword light, Feng Zimo's mind went blank. Because he had just kicked too hard in the air, he jumped too high, and he was just enjoying himself. He exerted too much force. His legs and feet were a little weak at this time, and he had no time to avoid it. Brother Dao, who was in severe pain in his crotch, panicked at this time, and even had the idea of giving up and withdrawing the knife, but his body was half a beat faster than his mind. When he first had this idea, the dagger in his hand had already come into close contact with Feng Zimo's head. When he let go, half of the blade of the dagger had been inserted into Feng Zimo's head, and the scarlet blood stimulated everyone present. Ah, killing people dash, Bu Yimin's sharp shout pierced the night sky. At the same time, Bu Yimin quickly turned into an alley without hesitation and fled. It was hard to believe that he could run so neatly in high heels. Brother Dao, who was originally in a daze because he accidentally stabbed Feng Zimo in the head, gradually recovered. Not only did he not panic, but his eyes became even colder. Come on, follow me and chase that stinky bitch. I'll make you feel good if I catch her. Don't even think about it if you don't catch anyone. Brother Dao's reaction was quick enough, and he immediately figured out the key point. This place is dark and remote. There is no surveillance, and I am cautious. I must wear gloves every time I use the knife, so as not to leave fingerprints. As long as I catch Bu Yimin and control his men's mouths, even if I prick the head of this stupid kid, I won't be able to find it on my head. So Brother Dao led 3 of his grunting men and chased in the direction in which Bu Yimin fled, leaving Feng Zimo alone on the street with a dagger stuck in his head. A dim street lamp just illuminated the curled-up body, which was very satisfying. Chapter 003 Future Technology Gift Package. Although he fainted to the ground and lost his perception of the outside world, Feng Zimo's consciousness was actually still awake, but he was pulled by an inexplicable gravity through a long and colorful tunnel. After passing through the tunnel, Feng Zimo felt like he was suddenly standing in the endless space. He didn't know how long he had been admiring the magnificent and vast scenery. A dazzling ion light wave suddenly shot straight from the distance. Feng Zimo had time to subconsciously close his eyes and raise his arms to block the dazzling ion light wave. However, the light wave directly crossed the boundary of space and hit Feng Zimo's face. When Feng Zimo opened his eyes again, his eyes turned into an endless darkness, with only sporadic flashing light spots scattered here and there, providing some weak vision. Welcome, great savior. A voice that was not loud, but very clear sounded like a 3-dimensional surround sound. What the hell? Feng Zimo was shocked, and then asked subconsciously, Where am I? Who are you? What do you want to do? Great savior, please be patient. You are appearing in your mind in the form of ideology at this moment. And I am the administrator of the Future Technology Database, and I will also be your most powerful backing in saving the world. A strange voice sounded again. Future technology? Save the world? Feng Zimo even doubted whether he was dreaming. The strange voice gave the answer in time. Yes. You volunteered to become a great savior, so you were given a future technology gift package. As soon as he finished speaking, a projection appeared in the void in front of Feng Zimo's eyes. It was the scene of browsing the dark web, encountering a pop-up window, and choosing yes a few days ago. At this time, Feng Zimo finally confirmed he was really dreaming. The projection suddenly changed and began to reproduce the scene of Feng Zimo hero saving a beauty, but unfortunately he was stabbed in the head and fell into the street miserably. Feng Zimo, who believed that he was dreaming, didn't take it seriously. He didn't even focus on the head where he was stabbed. Instead, he relished in admiring the enchanting beauty that Bu Yimin inadvertently exuded during the fight. The unfamiliar voice continued to explain regardless. The future technology database will originally run smoothly. At most, it will only increase your food consumption, but in return, it will subtly expand your active brain space and open future technologies to you in an orderly manner. Oh, not bad. Feng Zimo felt that if it was really like this, he might not be so beautiful when he wakes up. However, the unfamiliar voice changed the topic. Because you suffered a serious head injury and were on the verge of death, I had to use the remaining energy of the database to carry out emergency repairs for you. However, the database crossed the boundary of time and returned to the present, and its own energy was almost exhausted. The supplements in the past few days were of no avail, so I used up all the energy used by the database to maintain the minimum normal operation. So, Feng Zimo didn't quite understand. As a result, the consequence is that the database is out of control and an irreversible decompression state is initiated. A strange voice explained.